Good morning, everybody. It's your man in the trenches. Good morning. Happy holidays. Uh, it's a nice, quiet Saturday morning. So, when go get a coffee, juice, water. Come hang out. This is a crazy story about this beautiful college student, 19 years old, that she she deliberately tragic, beautiful girl, beautiful black girl, off in college. A guy gets AIDS or HIV, and then he deliberately gives it to her, and we're going to check the story out. Mm. So make sure you hit the link in the description to the book. Maybe you could throw a coffee down my throat. Support the channel. The Cash App's in the link. Hit the like button, share button, help a guy out. I think they might have started my channel back up, as you most are well aware of that I got censored, and they turned my algorithm right off. So maybe I'm back in the game. So if you could help me out, help me out. So let's check this story out about this teenage girl that deliberately infected. Now, if they say 50 men, 60 men, one on one contact, what's the ripple effect of all their spouses? Let's check it out.
Madison Taylor stared at the test results in the small clinic room at the University of New Mexico Hospital. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as her world collapsed around her. "Are you sure?" Her voice cracked, hands trembling as she held the paper. At 19, she hadn't imagined herself here, receiving news that would change her life forever. Dr. Sarah Chen nodded gently. "The HIV test is conclusive. We ran it twice to be certain. Madison, I know this is overwhelming, but we have excellent treatments nowadays. This isn't a death sentence like it used to be."
Years ago, when AIDS came out and everything else, people were like terrified. Boy, get people running around having sex with everybody and all this and that. And all of a sudden, sex could mean death. So, but this was after that. There was a guy in Texas that deliberately infected over 100 women. And then who did they infect? So this Madison, she's in the doctor's office. She just gets back the test results. She's positive. And the guy gave it to her knowingly.
But Madison barely heard the doctor's reassurances. Her mind was already racing back 3 months to that party at Alpha Sigma Phi, to Jason Rodriguez, the handsome senior who'd bought her drinks all night, who'd seemed...
She went to a party, fraternity party. They got loaded up. Here's this handsome stud, and they rock and roll, and he deliberately is infecting her.
So nice, so caring, who'd known he was HIV positive and hadn't told her. She'd found out about his status by accident 2 weeks ago, overhearing a conversation between his fraternity brothers. They'd known. They'd all known, and no one had warned her. "Madison," Dr. Chen's voice broke through her thoughts. "We need to discuss your treatment options and..." "How long?" Madison interrupted. "How long until I start getting sick? With proper medication, you can live a normal lifespan. Many people with HIV today never develop AIDS at all. The important thing is to start treatment right away and..." Again, Madison...
On a different note, you see these commercials for the HIV medicine? They got these guys kissing guys on these commercials. It's ugly. I mean, yeah, do it on the side. We know it exists, but we don't need to watch men kissing men and women kissing women on TV. We don't need that.
Wasn't listening. Her mind was spinning with different calculations now. How many parties had she been to in the past 3 months, thinking she was fine? How many guys had she hooked up with, not knowing she was infected? She thought of Jason's smirking face, how he'd avoided her after that night, how his frat brothers had snickered behind her back. Something cold and hard crystallized in her chest. "I need some time," she said, standing abruptly, "to process this." Dr. Chen reached for her arm. "Madison..."
She's off to college. She gets infected by this guy. They're all snickering and laughing, and she's terrified. And she's at the doctor's office now, and they're all, testosterone, yeah, 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 and everything else.
Please, let's talk about this. There are support groups, counselors. But Madison was already walking out the door, her mind made up. If Jason and his friends thought it was funny to play with people's lives, she'd show them what that really meant. She didn't go home to her dorm. Instead, she drove to Las Cruces, where no one knew her, checked into a cheap motel, opened her laptop, and created new social media accounts under the name Maddie Santos. Her hands
She's correct. She's creating all these social media accounts, dating apps, and everything. And look at this
shook as
girl.
she uploaded carefully chosen photos, just suggestive enough to attract attention, just innocent enough to seem genuine. Then she started swiping.
You see this fine girl, beautiful girl at the bar anywhere, and she's talking about let's get a room. These guys are salivating after this fine filly. Mm.
Right on dating apps, accepting friend requests, responding to messages. An eye for an eye, she whispered to her reflection in the grimy motel mirror. Let's see how funny they think it is now. She didn't know then that her quest for revenge would become one of New Mexico's most shocking crime stories, that it would destroy not just Jason's life, but dozens of others, that it would make national headlines and change state laws. All she knew was that she'd been given a death sentence by someone who thought it was a joke, and she was going to make sure she didn't go down alone. Over the next 6 months, Madison Taylor would systematically seduce and infect more than 50 men across New Mexico.
She got busy. She got busy. Quick, beautiful, fine girl.
Sons, brothers, husbands, fathers, none would be spared in her calculated campaign of vengeance. But every action has consequences, and Madison's revenge would spiral far beyond anything she could have imagined. This is the true story of how one college freshman's quest for justice became a tragedy that rocked an entire state. Of how trust turned to betrayal, love to hatred, and youthful mistakes into unforgivable crime.
She's just an innocent college student, very, very smart, academically scored high, and then all of a sudden everything changes. You can hate her for deliberately infecting people, but does anybody have any sympathy also? And these men aren't using any protection.
Madison's first target after Jason wasn't a frat boy or college student. It was David Martinez, a 34-year-old insurance salesman from Santa Fe who'd messaged her on Tinder. You're so mature for your age, he told her over drinks at a local bar, not knowing he was being
Her first victim, an insurance salesman. Well, isn't he into risk management? Like, use a condom, dude. Your business, your livelihood is risk management. Okay, use a condom, Billy.
recorded on her phone and her purse. Most girls your age are so immature. Madison played her part perfectly, giggling at his jokes, touching his arm, letting her dress right up just enough to keep his attention. She'd learned from Jason how to make men feel special, important. Another drink? David asked, already signaling the bartender. I should probably eat something first, Madison said, playing with her hair. I get kind of wild when I drink on an empty stomach.
This guy's sitting at the bar with her thinking, yeah, I'm going to get some of this beautiful, fine filly. She wants to get drunk. She's already got her hand on his arm. This dude is like, I don't care if I'm married. I don't care how many children I got. I don't care about getting any diseases. I just want this little fine filly over here. Mm.
David's eyes lit up exactly as she knew they would. 2 hours later, in his apartment, she got what she came for. She made sure to scratch his back deeply during sex. Evidence for later, she thought coldly. The next morning, she left while he was still sleeping, but not before taking photos of his driver's license and business cards. She added his information.
She's journalizing all this. She scratched his back, like what, to draw blood? And then salivate in it or something?
To a growing list list in a password-protected folder on her laptop labeled Karma. David was just the beginning. Madison developed a system moving between cities: Albuquerque, Las Cruces, Santa Fe, Roswell. She never stayed in one place long enough to raise suspicion, long enough to leave her mark. She targeted men of all ages and backgrounds. Michael Wong, 45, married real estate developer. Tyler Stevens, 22, college baseball player. Robert Garcia, 38, high school teacher. James Peterson, 29, police officer. Carlos Ramirez, 41, restaurant owner.
She documented all these men in a folder titled Karma.
Each conquest was carefully documented. Photos, recordings, text messages, she kept everything. Some tiny part of her knew she was building evidence against herself, but she didn't care anymore. At night, alone in various motel rooms, she would read about HIV transmission rates, viral loads, incubation periods. She learned that not everyone she slept with would necessarily contract the virus.
She leaves college and just goes on the road to little towns and just getting as many men as she can.
But enough would. It was a numbers game, and she was playing to win. She developed rules. 1. Never use protection. 2. Always draw blood somehow during sex. 3. Never tell them her real name. 4. Never stay more than one night. 5. Always collect their information. Meanwhile, back at UNM, Jason Rodriguez was living his best life, unaware that his actions had set this chain of events in motion. He'd graduated that spring and taken a job at his father's law firm in Albuquerque. Madison stalked his social media obsessively. Every smiling photo, every party post, every celebration fueled her rage. He'd ruined her life and faced no consequences. Yet, but her revenge was taking its toll. She dropped out of college, using the money her parents had saved for her education to fund her cross-state mission.
She drops out. The parents saved up for her college education, very smart academically. And now she's going to use that money, her college money, to finance going out on the road, going to different cities, hopscotching around hotel rooms, and just infecting as many people as she can.
She barely slept, lost weight, started having nightmares. The girl who looked back at her from motel mirrors grew harder, colder. Dark circles formed under her eyes. Her once bright smile became practiced, mechanical, a tool to be used like everything else. She kept a journal on her laptop. Day 147, 2 more tonight. Lawyer and grad student. Both married, both cheaters. They deserve what's coming. Day 165. Starting to feel tired all the time. Dr. Chen was right about the symptoms. Doesn't matter. Not stopping until I hit 50. Day 183. Guy recognized me from someone else's warning. Had to leave Roswell fast. Getting sloppy. Need to be more careful.
Now the antennas are raising up in this geographical location, and somebody recognized and said, hey, that girl's going around infecting people, and she skirts over to another town.
As summer turned to fall, rumors began spreading through New Mexico's dating scene. Stories of a mysterious brunette who disappeared after one-night stands. Men comparing notes in bars, on dating apps, and doctor's offices. But Madison was careful. She changed her hair color, used different names, moved constantly. By the time anyone connected the dots, she'd be long gone. Then came the night that changed everything. When she met Mark Torres at a bar in Las Cruces. Mark was different. Kind. Genuine. For the first time since starting her revenge, Madison felt herself wavering. You seem sad, he said, studying her face across the bar. Like you're carrying something heavy. For a moment, she almost told him everything. Almost let herself break down and confess. Instead, she took him back to her motel room, like all the others. But as she watched him sleep afterward, something inside her cracked. She couldn't stop the tears this time. She left before dawn, adding his information to her list with shaking hands. But Mark Torres would prove to be more than just another name in her folder. He would be the beginning of her undoing. Mark Torres wasn't just a nice guy in a bar. He was an investigative journalist for the Albuquerque Journal, working on a story about a string of unusual HIV cases across.
She runs into this guy and does the same routine on him, and he just happens to be an investigative journalist for a newspaper in that region. Well, he's got a first-hand story now.
New Mexico. 2 weeks after their encounter, Madison saw his byline on an article that made her blood run cold. Health officials investigate mysterious HIV cluster in New Mexico. The article detailed how doctors across the state had noticed an alarming pattern. Dozens of men, mostly between 20 and 50, testing positive for HIV. All within the past 6 months. All with similar stories about a young woman they'd met.
Wow.
Madison's hands shook as she read the article in a Starbucks in Taos.
She knows the gig is up. She slept with this investigative journalist, and they recognize this cluster of infections running crazy in that region. And now she's sees the reports, and
sources within the New Mexico Department of Health confirm that at least 37 new HIV cases have been linked through genetic testing of the virus, suggesting transmission from a single source.
Wow.
The cases span 5 cities and include men from various backgrounds, with no apparent connection except intimate contact with a woman matching similar descriptions. She slammed the laptop shut, earning strange looks from nearby customers.
She's got her laptop open. She realizes it. She's sitting in a Starbucks. She knows the gig is up. They're on to her. But can you imagine these guys at the bar? Some guy goes in there. Yeah, I'm going to have a drink, go home to my wife and kids. And all of a sudden, this fine filly shows up. She's beautiful and sexy, And all of a sudden, she's interested. And next thing you know, they're doing the nasty in a hotel room. And he's going home with HIV and giving it to his wife.
Her careful planning was starting to unravel. That same day in Albuquerque, Detective Maria Sanchez sat at her desk reviewing files. 37 cases had just become 38. The latest victim had come forward, David Martinez, the insurance salesman who'd been Madison's first target. I saw the article, David told Detective Sanchez, his voice shaking. I got tested yesterday. It came back positive. I think I know who she is. He described their night together, the scratches, the missing business cards. As he talked, Sanchez's phone buzzed with new messages. More men coming forward, more positive tests, more stories. The investigation kicked.
All these men are thinking, damn, I slept with this girl. Now it's out. Now it's out in the media. They're running around. Yeah, damn, that fine girl. Yep. She's like the Black Widow. She's just rocking and rolling. And what's up, Anderson, Joel, Sir Drums, Ivan, long time. But yeah, I'm going to start doing some of these interesting stories. I'm going to do some mob stories too. But this is crazy. There was a guy in Texas that got AIDS, HIV, and he just rock and rolled and gave it to men and women. But the ripple effect, this is like 50, 60 documented. They can only guess the ripple effect, because who were they having? He infects or she infects these men, and they're having sex with other people that are having sex with other people. So it could end up thousands.
Into high gear, security camera footage from hotels and bars, credit card transactions, cell phone records, dating app data, social media posts. Patterns emerged, a ghost taking shape. Meanwhile, Madison was spiraling. She'd stopped taking her HIV medications weeks ago, and the symptoms were getting worse. Fatigue, night sweats, weight loss. But she couldn't stop. Not yet. Not until she reached her goal. Then came the text that changed everything. An unknown number. I know what you're doing. We need to talk, Mark. Madison almost dropped her phone. She'd been careful with Mark. How had he... The next text included a link to his article. Her mind raced. She could run. Change her appearance again.
She realized this dude is an investigative reporter, journalist, and she infected him. Now she's going to meet. He texts her and says, we got to meet. She says, where? Now, here it is.
Moved to another state, but she was tired. I'm so tired. She texted back one word, They met at a quiet coffee shop in Santa Fe. Mark looked different in the daylight, more serious, professional. How many? He asked simply. Madison stared into her untouched coffee. 53. Mark's sharp intake of breath was the only sound for a long moment. Why? And finally, Madison told someone the whole story. About Jason, the party, the diagnosis, the cover-up, the revenge that had consumed her life. I can help you tell your story, Mark said when she finished.
Jason deliberately infected her. She was pissed. Then she went on this mission to infect as many as she could.
The whole story, but you need to turn yourself in. They'll send me to prison, yes, but people need to know the truth about Jason, about what started this. Madison looked out the window at the Santa Fe streets, watching normal people living normal lives. Lives she could never have now. Okay, she whispered, but I have conditions. That night, in a small police station in Santa Fe, Madison Taylor surrendered herself to Detective Sanchez.
She's off to college. Her exciting time. She's off to college. Very smart, beautiful. I think she was going to be a lawyer. And everything going for her. And then one night, unprotected sex, and it leads to all this craziness. Jeez. I feel sorry for her. I'm sorry. I feel sorry for her. That's all. I feel sorry for her. Oh, well, she infected. She went on a mission to deliberately infect all these guys, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean.
She handed over her laptop, her journals, her lists, everything.
She's going to jail.
Proof that Jason Rodriguez had knowingly infected her. The news exploded across New Mexico. College students' HIV revenge spree ends in arrest. 53 men infected in 6-month campaign of vengeance. Frat cover-up sparked health crisis. The courtroom was packed on the first day of Madison Taylor's trial. National media crowded the halls of the Bernalillo County Courthouse, their cameras ready to capture every moment of what was being called the blood vengeance trial. Madison sat at the defense table, barely recognizable from her dating app photos. She'd lost 30 pounds. Her once glossy brown hair hung limp and dull. She wore no makeup, just a simple gray suit her parents had bought for court. Her parents sat directly behind her, their faces drawn with grief and confusion. How had their bright, ambitious daughter become this person? Their college fund had gone to her defense instead of her education. Their home equity had been drained for legal fees. The prosecution's opening statement was devastating.
Now you're single or married. This girl comes up to you, sexy as hell, pretty as hell. You got a couple drinks in you, and she's like, "Let's go rock and roll." And the dude is like, "Yeah, today's my lucky day." Well, it wasn't. The parents saved the money up to send her to school. That's dried up. She's now they got to spend money on a defense lawyer.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant, Madison Taylor, deliberately and methodically infected 53 men with HIV. She recorded her crimes, kept trophies, tracked her victims like a hunter tracks prey. This wasn't revenge, it was terrorism. Madison's defense team argued temporary insanity, trauma response, diminished capacity due to her own HIV diagnosis. They painted a picture of a teenage girl destroyed by betrayal, acting out of desperation and mental illness. But the evidence was overwhelming. Her detailed journals, video recordings, text messages, victim testimony, medical records, hotel receipts, DNA evidence. One by...
Now, the trial begins. Welcome, everybody. The trial begins, and they sort it out. She gets 40 years, and the guy that gave it to her got 10 years. So that's a tragic story there. Yes, Sir Drums, good to have you back. EB23, good to have you back. Speaking, Sir Drums asked, Joy, you're going to talk about the CEO murder in New York City from a few days ago? Yes, I did. I did something on Facebook. I think I did it here. The CEO of United Health Organization, Healthcare, was in New York City to do an investors meeting. Well, what's that mean, truth serum? An investors meeting means, well, we want to figure out how to raise premiums on you folks that can barely afford to put food on the table. I'm not having any mercy or sympathy for the CEO. Forgive me, God. These people give themselves $20 million salaries, $40 million salaries. They're living high off the hog. Insurance companies, they're worse than the mafia. And he's in New York City to do an investors meeting, which means how can we screw the public and raise their premiums? That's what that means. So some assailant goes out there and hits him, and he's still at large. They say they're identifying him. He left a trail of evidence, forensic and cameras and stuff. So they'll probably catch him. But these healthcare organizations and the pharmaceuticals only care about one thing: profit. Profit. So I hate to sound evil, but I don't have any sympathy for him. I'm sorry. I don't have any sympathy. I've seen guys go to prison in the mafia for $1,000 conspiracy charges, $1,000 conspiracy charges, and they go do 8 years, 7 years for $1,000 transactions, minimal stuff. They go away for a long time. And other outside of the mafia too, they perpetrate other uh, crimes and stuff like that. These guys are raising premiums on millions of people that can't afford to go get a procedure done. People can't afford health insurance. They have medical conditions and they need medical attention, and they need medical procedures, and they can't because they can't afford this expensive health insurance. Because guys like that CEO from United Healthcare are charging premiums, overcharging premiums. The whole medical industry is corrupt, and somebody, whatever his motivation was, it looked like it was planned or whatever, and they went out and they smashed them. Well, bro, too bad. Too bad. Too bad. You make 40 million a year, 60 million a year, not counting the envelopes, not counting the envelopes. They're worse than the mafia. The healthcare system and the insurance companies are worse. And there was like the Taxi Driver movie with Robert. Well, things happen. Yeah. I don't have any mercy, Sir Drums. Good to have you back, Sir Drums. I think they turned my channel back on. They had me froze and shadow banned and everything. Maybe I'm able to get, I don't know. We're going to keep rocking though. But yeah, I was going to speak on that, but I did another video, and I don't have any sympathy for that. I don't have any sympathy while they're raping the public. People can't get medical procedures while these CEOs are writing their own salaries, 60 million a year, 80 million a year, and their families are going to the pyramids in Egypt, the Great Wall of China. Their families are in private schools. They're living high off the hog, and they're sticking it to the public. They're sticking it. They don't have mercy on the public. Why should I have mercy on him? People can't put food on their table, and they can't afford health insurance, and they gotta die sometimes. They gotta die. You can need you got heart problems or serious conditions. Some people just pass away because of scums like that CEO that got hit because he was on his way to an investors meeting. He was walking into the Roosevelt to an investors meeting to figure out how they can stick it to you like you're not broke enough already. Call it what you want. I don't have any sympathy for him. Mm-hmm. Anderson's overseas. He says that's why they have free hospital doctor for all. They don't need people like that. Wow. This good gentleman here overseas, they don't. So all that corruption and usury is eliminated. Is eliminated. So they'll probably catch him. He knew the details. He was privileged to information to know that guy was going to be there at that time. I don't know. There could be a million types of suspects. What about people that are just pissed off that somebody passed away in their family, and this guy's health insurance company refused? Yeah, you know, maybe there was something personal in the killer's family that this CEO's company told them, nah, we can't do that procedure. We can't do that. Your insurance doesn't cover that. So your family's gotta die rot of vine. This kind of stuff happens every day. They want you to pay all these high premiums for this insurance. And then when there's a very expensive medical procedure, they backtrack. Oh, no, that's not included in the thing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's going to piss off a lot of people when they watch their loved ones deteriorate because some health insurance company said, no, that's not included. Well, shit happens. I have no sympathy. Mm-mm. He's part of an evil enterprise, just like the Colombo mob family, just like the Genovese, just like he's part of a criminal evil enterprise. As far as I'm concerned, he's the ringleader CEO. Oh, that was so sad what happened to the guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The same people are crying tears for the guy while they're getting screwed over by these health insurance companies that say F you. We can't do that appendicitis operation. We can't do this medical procedure on you. Well, I'm paying all these insurance premiums. Well, no, you should have looked in the fine print, Billy. Those procedures aren't covered. So rot and die. I have no mercy. I have no mercy at all. I'm sorry. A CEO of a health insurance company is equal just like a freaking boss of a crime family. That's all. That's all. He's no different to me. Well, I don't mean to insult some crime bosses. Forgive me if there's any crime bosses, whatever, or mafia people. I don't mean to insult you like that because they're worse. These CEOs of insurance, because they're doing stuff that affects tens of millions of people. The mafia does stuff more or less within their own community of the five families. You got these bums, CEOs out there that are determining life or death on people. And it's a lot more than the mob families. So yeah, I knew a guy had health care, and then his intestines went bad, and he had to have a bag, and he had some high recognizable insurance company name, and he kept having it, and he was going, oh, they're delaying, they won't approve the surgery. What do you mean? You've been paying $5,000 a year for insurance. And he's telling me, well, that I got to go back and I'm waiting for a letter. Yeah, you're waiting for a letter that's going to say, we're not going to cover that operation. You're waiting for a letter. I said, Jeff, they're going to refuse you, bro. They're going to refuse you. Well, what are you going to do? Lay back and just pass away? They don't care. They don't care at all. They don't care. One guy needed a appendicitis, or his appendix was getting ready to blow. And they refused him. He's waiting for a letter from some health insurance company, waiting for a letter. And then in the meantime, his appendix blows up and he's in intensive care fighting for his life. Wow. Jojo, I literally said the same thing to my brother. Someone lost a family member, and this was a blowback revenge murder. Yeah, something might have happened where, you know, you got these CEOs making tens of millions of dollars a year. And then the people, the subscribers to their companies, they refuse. Sorry, Billy. Sorry, Sally. We can't pay for that procedure. Really? Really? We'll find out in the news later on. We'll find out whatever transpires, but they're doing the forensic trail. They got the bus station records. They got the video surveillance. They got maybe DNA and fingerprints because they found a backpack in Central Park. So they'll probably, unless he gets on a plane with Jill Biden and tours the world, maybe he could catch that plane Jill Biden's on. Lots of people have paid into their health insurance plans their whole life, whole career. Then you get sick and a condition isn't covered. Then you're bankrupt and die. How many people have savings? Good point, Ivan Lore. How many people save up and don't have health insurance that is really, really great health insurance? Because somehow you think you have the best health insurance plans out there, but then you get screwed somehow. But how many people didn't? And they have to mortgage their house to get heart surgery, or they have to liquidate all their savings and all this to these corrupted hospitals and doctors and pharmacies and health insurance companies. How many lives does this medical industry ruin? You're in the hospital. They give you an Excedrin. They charge you $14 for an aspirin. Come on. It's insane. They're worse than the mafia. Way worse than the mafia. I don't mean to compare them. But thank you, Sir Drums, Ivan Lore. So there you have it, folks. Hey, well, Draper Mint. Free dozen donuts gets you a boost. So I'm 61 years old. I've seen my whole life that how many people got affected by having health insurance, and then the health insurance companies tell them, well, that procedure's not covered. How many? It's insane. It's insane. And they're running this story on a loop. CEO gets killed in New York, blah, 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 blah. Oh, boo-hoo, poor guy, poor guy. I mean, I feel sorry for the wife and kid, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Things happen. Things happen. All these workers and chairman, all these board members on all these health insurance companies, they don't care about you. They're all living the life of Riley with 6 houses across the planet Earth, trips everywhere, private schools, 6 cars in their driveway. They're living the life of Riley. They don't care about raising premiums on you, hardworking people trying to put food on the table, take care of your children. They don't care. They don't have mercy on you. Sir Drum says, I dropped United last year. They see Sir Drums. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Exhibit A. They don't care. All these upper level people working at these insurance companies, they could care less. What they tell you is rot. You got a medical condition that's not covered. Rot and die. They have mercy and compassion for millions of people. They don't. So me personally, I don't have sympathy for them. I don't have sympathy for them. He's down in New York City going to an investors meeting at the Roosevelt. An investors meeting. Yeah, okay. They're going to go in there and figure out how they can raise your premiums. What do you think this investors meeting is? What do you think this investors meeting is? What, to go play chess and checkers? No, they're going to say, well, let's look at the profits last quarter. Well, you know what? Let's raise this. Let's raise that procedure. Let's raise this. Let's raise that. What do you think they're going to talk about at this investors meeting in New York City? The birds and the bees? No, how they can screw you more. That's facts. That's facts. Wow. They have ruthlessly screwed over people financially, the health, the personal life, millions they've used their scheme on. Yeah. There's no oversight. There's no accountability. These are the people that donate to politicians. Why do you think Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they got all these big portfolios, these big stock portfolios of all this and that? It's all inside stuff. It's all inside stuff. The rich get richer, and then they lobby these big insurance companies. So there's no litigation, there's no monitoring. Nobody's going to say, hey, don't raise your premiums, don't raise your premiums. No, there's no congressman or governor or senator, there's nobody to stick up for you, because these billion-dollar companies are the ones that donate to these scumbag politicians' campaigns and other backdoor deals. Nancy Pelosi and a host of others. So it's a fixed game. There's no oversight on it because the politicians are bought and paid for. It's a fixed game. They just get richer, and the poor citizens got to figure out how they're going to handle these health problems, even when they got expensive health insurance policies. So there you have it. If you just jumped in, check out the story about the teenage college student that infected, probably in reality, hundreds of men, because somebody gave her HIV. So that's a very interesting story. We're going to watch some college football. I'm going to watch some Christmas cartoons and get into the holiday spirit. We're alive. We could have fun. We check out that. And Donald Trump is back. And Letitia James and Elvin Bragg. Donald Trump's coming for you. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, said, I'm changing to Republican. Can you imagine New York City mayor? He's had enough. He's had enough. They made the decision on Daniel Penny, and it was lesser charge. It wasn't murder. And then you got Black Lives Matter in the street. That big fat sloth lady for BLM. She's out there. It's America's racist. America's racist. Eric Adams. The Black Lives Matters, the biggest con game known to mankind. Where's all that money? And she's up there. You're all racist. Blah blah blah. A jury decided the case, and the majority of the jury was black. Miss Sloth, Black Lives Matter sloth. So they want to get up there, show their fat, ugly faces in the streets with microphones and claim that everybody's racist. Everybody's racist. Where was Al Sharpton? I thought he was going to show his ugly face up there. That skinny runt. New York State is changing. New York State is changing, just like the rest of America. New York State is changing. We've had enough of these corrupt DAs, lawfare against Donald Trump. Elvin Bragg, get your toothbrush and underwear. You're going to jail. Letitia James, you're going to jail. Eric Adams, he switched to Republican. He's like, I don't want to mess with Trump. Sanctuary city, sanctuary state. So, yeah, Michael K. So, yeah, they have Texas against Georgia at noon, college football. So we get it all in here. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee, there's a link in the description. Hit the like button and be the kings and queens of your world. Don't give up. The world is a vampire, of course. It wants blood. Now, be aware, keep your senses together. A lot of times, the holiday season can be more depressing. Depression is amplified. So don't go to drugs and alcohol and all that. Get through it. Just be happy you're alive. You got a chance. All right. You could start from scratch. You could come back. We recognize all the craziness and stuff, but you guys have your own personal lives. Try to enrich them. Keep your head together and be appreciative of every day you have. Okay. So that's that. Uh Maybe I'll come back on tonight and do some crazy late night marathon or something. We'll do another story. I'm going to start showing some crazy stories. I think I want to do the feral people of the Appalachian Mountains. Boy, there's some crazy stories about the feral people along the Appalachian Trail. We're going to do everything we can here. So, yeah, uh, I appreciate you guys coming in here. You know that I appreciate you folks coming in here and keep me company. I guess maybe I'm able to get a subscriber again. I don't know if I'm still shadow banned where I can get subscribers, but maybe they turn my channel back on. I don't know. So if you're new, subscribe. Try to subscribe if you're able to, so maybe I can build up subscribers. My ticker ain't moved in 18 months. They shadow banned me because of political stuff you're well aware of, you know? So that's that, folks. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll be back. Maybe we'll rock out tonight or something. We'll do another story and all that. God bless y'all. Thanks for watching.